When my father died, my Uncle Jack was there at the funeral, and he could see that I was upset, so he come along and put his arm on my shoulder and said, in his old Yorkshire way, "Hey George, there's all sorts of ways of dying, and they haven't found a good one yet." In the 1930s, the school that I went to had 300 children going to it, and we just had deaths that occurred, not through the war, but through normal things. And we accepted that. It just part and parcel of growing up at that time. And apart from that, it was sort of moulded into the education. It was talked about in the education. We read poetry, and most of the poetry was kind of jingoistic, always leaning towards death. We thought about death, but it was kind of accepted. I met this girl, Betty. We did a bit of courting. It meant a lot to us, really. It got a little bit keen, actually. A little boy came along, and he was about a month old and had to go for the medical. I was A1, fit, so naturally I had to go into the army. Although you knew that there were incidents going on in the Middle East, you knew there were incidents going on all over the world. Because you were a trained soldier, and because you were with other lads that were trained soldiers, it didn't seem to matter that much. Saying about this death business, the person that suffered most, as they say, are the people that are left behind, because they don't know what's happening. They put two and two together and come up with a different answer entirely. You're in jeopardy. My wife's family, the Irvins, had lost, Mrs. Irvin had lost two of her sons during the war and one badly injured. And they saw it from that point of view. I went back to being an ordinary civilian lad with a family and having to provide everything that you do provide, a home and a livelihood, and that was it. And thus we went on, and life took on that pattern from there. It was obvious that something was wrong. She was losing her strength, and her breathing was getting a lot worse. And then a couple of days later, I had to get the doctor in again and said, "We think that Mrs. Lute is in a lot of pain. We think that Mrs. Lute should go to an hospice." And of course, there it's a means to an end. She was taken to bed, and I chatted with her, and nurses chatted with her, and she kept a spirit as much as she could. And then was there one night, it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, and I noticed her breathing was getting a little bit laboured and faint, and she had chatted away, and she stopped chatting to me, smiled, I held her hand, and I was talking away there as I'm talking away now, and the nurse that was sat by me said, "I'm afraid she's gone, George." And I didn't realise that. And it was a blow then. And I realised then that I was on my own. And life starts afresh then. Or it doesn't. For a while it doesn't anyway. You're lost. You're looking for other people. And of course there are other people. There was my family there. They rallied round. People came and people went. And I found throughout it, oddly enough, that women that I hadn't bothered about how they felt or one thing and another were the best at that particular moment in time, during that particular period, because women were not afraid of coming up and putting their arms around you and saying, "Oh dear, George, we're terribly sorry." And I found that men didn't do that. They were sorry, and I could see that they were sorry, but they would sort of say, "Well, lad, that's it, pull yourself together," kind of thing. When I'd been in the army, I met a lad who had spent a great deal of time in China, and he'd learnt me a saying that they had in China. And it was, "You can't stop the bird of sorrow from hovering over your head, but you can stop it from nesting in your hair."